Alright everybody, welcome back to another video on the channel. This is the week prediction video, week 3. Comment below, see if you can beat me and Stephen, which you probably will because we're being terrible up to now. Right, we're going to kick things straight off with Stoke versus Watford. Stoke, they got beat the first game off Ipswich, then they beat West Bromwich Albion 2-1 in the Cup, and then they also absolutely annihilated Rotherham 4-1. They have signed Ryan Mimi. And now Watford, they have let Saw and Pedro go this window. The first game of the season, they drew 0-0 with Plymouth. They lost 2-1 to Stevenage in the Cup, but then they absolutely annihilated QPR 4-0. So, with that being said, I've gone for a 1-1 draw. Right, now we're moving on to Swansea versus Coventry. Swansea have let some really good key players go. Ryan Manning being one of them, excellent last season. Nitcham, Joel, just to name a few. In the league, they have lost the first game of the season to West Bromwich Albion 3-2. They did beat Northampton in the Cup 3-0, but then they also drew in the most recent game 1-1 against Birmingham. Right, now moving on to Coventry. They have let some key players go, also Hammer being one of them, and also Guterres. They have spent quite a few quid bringing other players in like Ellis Sims, and probably that's why they're charging fans £37 a ticket. Mental. In the league though, they have just battered Middlesbrough 3-0, which was an outstanding result. The game before that, AFC Wimbledon, they lost, and Leicester, they lost, but Leicester obviously are gone for that #1 spot, and they have a strong squad. With all that being said, I've gone for a Coventry 2-1 win. So now we're moving on to Leicester versus Cardiff. Cardiff, they've been beat in the league 2-1 off QPR. They beat Colchester though in the Cup, and they managed to get a draw against Leeds, and they were outstanding in that game, leading 2-0 at one point. Leicester, 100% record up to now. They've brought in Cody, Winks, and Drewsbury Hall has got 2 goals for them up to now. Like I said, they've won all 3. They've beat Burton in the Cup. They also beat Coventry, and they beat Huddersfield in the last game. With all that being said, I've gone for a Leicester 3-0 win. Right, so now we're moving on to Middlesbrough versus Huddersfield. I'll start off with Huddersfield, the away team. They've lost every single game up to now. Leicester, Middlesbrough in the Cup, and Plymouth Argyle. Like I say, it doesn't look good for Huddersfield at the minute. I thought Warnock would have turned things around, done really well. Right, moving on to Middlesbrough. They have won in the Cup, but the 2 league games, they've lost. They've lost to Coventry. Yeah, they got battered 3-0, which wasn't a good performance at all, and they did lose at home to Millwall. Like I say, they lost Ryan Giles and Akpom. Them two there, it's hard to replace them. I think they may struggle. I've gone for a 1-1 draw. Now we're moving on to QPR versus Ipswich Town. Another one with a 100% record. The away team, Ipswich. They've done outstanding. They've kept that momentum going from League One. They beat Stoke, good result. They beat us in the league, and they've also beaten Sunderland, obviously, and they've also beat Bristol Rovers in the Cup. Moving on to QPR, Ainsworth. I thought these would struggle. In the league, they have done. They've lost the 2 games, but they did beat Cardiff in the Cup against Cardiff 2-1, which, they can progress in the Cup, but they need to sort out the league form. With all that being said, I've gone for an Ipswich 2-0 win. Right, moving on to Sheffield Wednesday and Preston. I think Sheffield Wednesday will do alright this season. They have lost the 2 league games against Hull and Southampton, but they did manage to win in the Cup on penalties. Preston, they beat us in the last game 2-1. Will Keane getting on the score sheet. Good striker for Preston. Also, they did manage to get a late equaliser against Bristol City. They did lose in the Cup though, just like us, on penalties to Salford. Right, with all that being said, I think Sheffield Wednesday will get off the mark now, and I think they'll win this game 2-1. So we're moving on to Leeds versus West Bromwich Albion. Leeds, they had Gelhardt starting. He was a loanee at Sunderland last season. He had a few good games near the end of the season, but it wasn't like an impressive loan spell, I'm not going to lie. But anyway, he got a start. Good luck to the lad. They lost the last game against Birmingham. They did win Shrewsbury in the Cup 2-1, but the game before that, they drew 2-2 with Cardiff. After they did well to pull back at 2. They were getting beat 2-0 and they pulled it back to 2-2 basically. West Brom and Albion though, they did well. They beat Swansea 3-2. They have lost in the Cup to Stoke, and they also lost to Blackburn in the opening game of the season. They've got some really good players though, West Brom, Swift and Wallace being two of the players. With that being said, I've gone for a Leeds 2, West Brom 2. Right now, we're moving on to Plymouth versus Southampton. I've got a feeling Plymouth are going to do well this season, but we'll start with Southampton. Southampton have lost some really good key players. In Ward-Prowse gone to West Ham, and also Olivia is now signed for Chelsea, even though he was rumoured to be gone to Liverpool. Last game, Southampton drew 4-4 with Norwich. They got beat in the Cup against Gillingham, but they did beat Sheffield Wednesday on the first game of the season. Right, moving on to Plymouth. They've got Ballymumba, used to be a Sunderland player. We sent him to cash in under our terrible ownership at the time. We should have kept him, good player. And they've also signed Whittaker as well. In their last game, they drew 0-0 with Watford. They beat Leyton Orient in the Cup. And they also beat Huddersfield as well in the first game of the season. With all that being said, I've gone for a Plymouth Argyle at their place, 1-0 win. Moving on to Blackburn versus Hull. Right, Blackburn, they've got some good players. They've kept Elder Smodics, and they've also got Thornton. He's a really young, good midfielder, and I think he's like a wise head on young shoulders, and he really will do well for them. They also have lost Bradley Dack and Brennan Diaz. Right, so in the league, Rotherham, they drew 2-2 with. They beat Walsall in the Cup to progress, and they also beat West Brom and Albion, which is a decent result. So moving on to Hull in the league, they did in the last game beat Sheffield Wednesday. They did lose in the Cup though to Doncaster, and they also lost the game before that to Norwich on the opening day. They have got a really good player in Tufan. He has just scored a hat-trick, and they've also got a really good player in Delap. They've just signed Scott Twine, I think, as well. So I think Hull might do better than they did last season. With all that being said, I've gone for a very close game, but I think Blackburn are going to nick this one 1-0. Right, so now we're moving on to Bristol City v Birmingham. Birmingham have done all right this season. They've won the last game against Leeds, which was a really, really good result. They've also beat Cheltenham in the Cup, and they did draw with Swansea. I have got a good player in Dembele and Bakuna, and yeah, I did in me where our teams would finish. I said they would finish in the relegation zone. I took that back more or less after I've done the video, and I put QPR there. Right, moving on to Bristol City. They've got a good player in Wells. He scored 11 goals last season, and James is off the mark. Right, in the league, though, they've won the last game. I think they beat Millwall, was it? Millwall, I'm sure it was Millwall. They beat Millwall, they've won Oxford in the Cup, and they've also drew with Preston. Preston got a very late goal as well. So Bristol City are having a good start of the season. With all that being said, I've gone for a 1-1 draw. Right, so now we're moving on to Sunderland versus Rotherham. Rotherham in the last game, they drew with Blackburn, 2-2. Decent result. They won in the Cup, but they did get smashed 4-1 off Stoke, but they were down to 10 men. Sunderland, where do I start? We've lost every single game, basically. We've lost Ipswich on the start, we've lost to Crewe in the Cup, and then we've lost to Preston. We still haven't got a striker through the door while I'm making this video on a Friday. And we're letting experienced players go, so it is going to be hard, but I think things will now turn around, and we will win this game 2-0. Comment below what you think's going to happen. Hit the thumbs up and subscribe if you're new.